The first sign God has chosen you for something bigger is that He keeps teaching you to depend on Him instead of yourself. Imagine someone who has always relied on talent, careful planning, and personal determination. Then suddenly, every plan begins to fail. Every opportunity slips away. At first, they become frustrated because nothing works the way it once did. But little by little, they begin praying more sincerely than ever before. Their confidence slowly shifts away from their own strength and toward God's faithfulness. This is exactly what happened to Moses. Before leading Israel out of Egypt, he spent 40 years tending sheep in the wilderness. Those years probably looked wasted to anyone watching from the outside. Yet God was quietly transforming a man who once acted in his own strength into someone who depended completely on the Lord's presence. When God finally called him through the burning bush, Moses no longer trusted himself. He trusted the one who sent him. But here's what many believers overlook. God often removes our confidence in ourselves before He reveals our confidence in Him. Dependence is not weakness, it is preparation, not self-reliance, but God-reliance. The second sign is that your character is being shaped more than your circumstances. I once heard about a believer who spent years praying for a promotion. Every day they asked God to open a new door. Yet instead of changing their position, God kept teaching them patience, humility, forgiveness, and faithfulness. For a long time they wondered why nothing around them seemed different. Then one day they realized something remarkable. They had become a completely different person. James 1:4 says, "Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." God understands that success without character can become a burden instead of a blessing. Before He enlarges your influence, He strengthens your foundation. Think about Joseph. Long before he governed Egypt, he learned integrity inside Potiphar's house, endurance inside prison, and faithfulness when no reward seemed possible. Those hidden lessons prepared him to carry authority without pride. God was never delaying Joseph's future. He was preparing Joseph for it. Perhaps you have been asking God to change your circumstances while He has been changing your heart instead. If so, do not mistake that work for delay. It may be one of the clearest signs that He is preparing you for something far greater than you can presently see. The third sign is that you begin to care more about God's will than your own plans. Many Christians begin their journey asking God to bless the future they have already imagined. They pray for certain opportunities, relationships, or achievements because they believe those things will finally satisfy them. But as God continues working in their lives, something quietly changes. Their prayers become less focused on getting exactly what they want and more focused on becoming the person God desires them to be. Abraham experienced this transformation. God called him to leave everything familiar without revealing the entire journey ahead. Hebrews 11 tells us that Abraham obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. His confidence rested not in the destination, but in the one who had called him. But here's what many believers overlook. God often reveals only the next step because He wants us to trust His character more than our own understanding. Not perfect knowledge, faithful obedience. The fourth sign is that your compassion for others continues to grow through your own struggles. Pain has a way of changing the heart. Someone who has walked through loneliness often notices people who feel forgotten. Someone who has experienced failure becomes quicker to encourage those who are discouraged. What once felt like an unnecessary burden slowly becomes the very reason they can comfort someone else. The Apostle Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians that God comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort others with the comfort we have received from Him. Think about David. Years of rejection, danger, and waiting shaped him into a king who understood weakness as well as strength. God was not simply preparing David to rule a nation, He was preparing him to shepherd hearts. Sometimes your greatest qualification is not your success, but the grace God has built through your suffering. The fifth sign is that you find increasing peace even before your circumstances change. This surprises many believers because we naturally expect peace to arrive after every problem has disappeared. Yet Philippians 4 speaks about the peace of God guarding our hearts and minds while we continue trusting Christ. That means peace is often part of God's preparation, not merely the reward that follows it. Remember Jesus sleeping in the boat while the storm surrounded the disciples. The waves had not stopped. Yet perfect peace was already present because the Son of God was there. When God chooses you for something bigger, He often teaches you to remain steady before He changes the storm itself. Not peaceful circumstances, peaceful faith. The sixth sign is that opportunities begin appearing that you never could have arranged on your own. Ruth simply went to gather leftover grain, yet God guided her into the field of Boaz. What looked like an ordinary day became part of an extraordinary plan that eventually placed her in the family line of King David and ultimately of Christ. God's guidance often appears ordinary before it becomes obvious. The seventh and final sign is that your life increasingly points people toward God instead of yourself. When God prepares someone for greater purpose, the goal is never personal recognition. John the Baptist understood this when he declared, "He must become greater, I must become less." The closer you walk with God, the more you desire for others to notice His faithfulness instead of your accomplishments. As you reflect on these 7 signs, remember that being chosen for something bigger is not about becoming more important than others. It is about becoming more available to God. If He has been teaching you dependence, shaping your character, changing your desires, growing your compassion, filling you with peace, opening unexpected doors, and turning your heart toward His glory, do not overlook those quiet changes. They may be the strongest evidence that God is already preparing you for the purpose He planned long before you understood it.